And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com. Driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Make sure you've downloaded our app. It is free, and it is easy access to Darren and I. You can watch and listen to our program. You can always comment there as well, which we do get comments, and we will we'll plug them into the program. The Share Healthcare chat lines are there for that as well, and we already have quite a few of you in, and so we'll certainly pass those along here in the next few moments. Wes Mitchell will pass along to you at 12:30 with Gamecock Central. It was a pretty bad weekend for South Carolina overall. The athletics department took it on the chin in multiple. So we're going to talk to him about that, but there's, some positive stuff with Carolina football. They haven't played a game yet this year, so that's good. We do have Scott Wingo coming up at 1:05 as well. He'll recap the series this weekend. Gamecock swept by Clemson in the annual rivalry. So much to get to in college hoops. It was a wild weekend of upsets. Some are already in the tournament. A couple of teams will be decided today. We've got some Major League Baseball we're going to try to touch on today as well, some rules stuff. So there's a lot over the next couple of hours we're going to try to cover, and feel free to jump in and be a part of the conversation with us. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Good afternoon, my friend. It's windy out there. I have concrete being poured in the backyard right now, so hopefully this will help dry it before all the wet weather comes this week. So what's up, man?
Well, hopefully the wind doesn't blow the pouring concrete around. Hopefully it's sturdy enough concrete that the wind, it gets down and then dries it out. Good weekend overall, like you said. Tonight, Furman hasn't been to the NCAA since 1980, I believe. Chattanooga, one of their big things in the SoCon was they've had teams to get there, just could never really get over the hump. I'm not sure the last time they were there, but that's been a very consistent theme. So I'll be paying attention to that. I told you guys the Sun Belt could be crazy, and 3 versus 8 are playing for the championship in the Sun Belt. And I'll tell you this, for Gamecock fans, there's a lot to get to and a lot of not great for the weekend. And when you didn't think it could get worse, the worst of all of it was last night. So I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that as the day goes along.
Yeah, coming up here in just a little bit, certainly. To your point, who's in right now? Longwood beat Winthrop, so Winthrop is not going to make the NCAA tournament. Longwood, as projected by many, is. It was a 21-point win. So they're in. Loyola Chicago beat Drake. They won the MVC, so they're in. And Murray State beat Morehead State. So those are the 3 teams that are in the tournament as of now. And then today we'll find out Louisiana or Georgia State. You mentioned the Sun Belt in the 3-8 matchup, and then Furman and Chattanooga. Furman looks, if they win it, if they can upset Chattanooga, it would likely be the only Palmetto State team in the dance this year. It's a 7 o'clock tip tonight on ESPN, and the Sun Belt titles at 7 on ESPN2. College of Charleston's got UNC Wilmington at 8:30 tonight on the CBS Sports Network for a chance to play in the CAA Finals tomorrow. Delaware and Towson's the other semi. That's at 6 on the CBS Sports Network. So the winners of those 2 games will compete tomorrow for a chance for the big dance. So go Cougars. Let's see. I said Furman likely. That's not well put at all because we don't know what the College of Charleston is going to do.
Yep.
The College of Charleston has a great chance. So any Cougar fans, my apologies. That was a pretty poor choice of words on my end. I do think that the Cougars have a chance to win this thing and get back in for the first time, I think, in 4 years, or I believe 4 years. So
and Hofstra's out of the way. So I mean, the question is in a tournament setting, right? When you have massive first halves like the College had last night, like one where everyone around the country following basketball was saying, "Oh my God, look, they've got 1 billion points in the first half." How do you follow it up in the next day and then the day after that too? I mean, that's tough, and they're favored tonight against a team that beat them twice in the regular season. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Crazy. So was the weekend for South Carolina. It was so bad, even the women lost. And that never happens. They blew a double-digit lead with only a few minutes left in the game against Kentucky yesterday, and we're certainly going to talk about that. It's the least impactful, in my opinion, and I think many people's opinions of the results this weekend. Clearly, they're still going to be a number 1 seed, and they're still going to be the number 1 seed in the NCAA women's tournament in the Greensboro region. So we'll wait for the selection process here in a few days into the week, and then we'll know exactly what the future looks like for Gamecock women's basketball. Although it was heartbreaking to see them continue their dominance of the tournament. Hats off to the Kentucky Wildcats, who got hot at the right time, and they're able to win the women's tournament. The men, as expected, lost to Auburn, although they showed signs of life throughout the game. I mean, they really continued to take punches, and they're just not good enough to beat Auburn. But I mean, Auburn's really, really good, and they continued to give it their best shot over there. So props to them on that. That is certainly going to be in our conversation today. And then what happened on the diamond was just not good for Carolina. Darren, I made mention on all of last week. If you lost Friday, you weren't going to win the series. And I thought if they lost Friday, there was a good chance that a sweep could be in store unless they were able to hit their way out of it. And they could not do that with only 6 runs scored all weekend. Clemson, by the way, folks, is one of only 5 baseball teams in the country that is still undefeated. And 3 of them are in the ACC, Wake Forest and Virginia. The others are Tennessee Tech and by the hair of their chinny chin, Purdue with a walk-off home run yesterday to stay undefeated as well. So none of it's good for South Carolina. Really good for Clemson. Hats off to Monty because he's got a good baseball team, and they're gonna be really good this year. There's no doubt. That is not an excuse for South Carolina. It's the first time, I think, since 1996,
since a season sweep of a series that's 3 or more games. So full series, 4 games, if there's midweek games or whatever like that. First time since 96, Clemson swept that.
For Clemson, yeah. And they're also, the Tigers, 11-0 for the first time since 2002. And they, of course, went to Omaha that year where, strangely enough, the Omaha run was ended by the Gamecocks in a couple of games up there in the middle of America. So instead of me just steering this conversation, Darren, let's just slide over to the Share Healthcare chat lines and read what we've got here. This is more than likely going to be a replica of what you're seeing on Carolina message boards. And I understand that all of our dear friends are already in, so it's good to see all of you. And let's just go down the list here. Clint said, what a forgettable weekend for Gamecock sports that was. Jamie echoes that comment. Bad weekend to be a Gamecock. Greg, the weather was nice. No doubt. Had a lot of planted 4 trees in my yard yesterday, by the way. Adam says, troubling with women's basketball. Their fourth quarters have been trending that way. Glad it happened before the tournament. Now they can refocus. Yeah, look, they've had some strange moments from time to time for a team as talented and as dominant as they are. They run through these really weird spells in games where you're like, who, what's happening out there? And then they get going and oh, okay, well, no big deal. So, but the tournament's coming up and you can't lose again or you're not going to win a national championship. South Carolina is primed to win one if they play to their potential. Let's see. Baseball, L. Stauffer 122. Baseball is in for a long month. You could be right, unfortunately. I would agree with that. Jan said, really worried about the baseball program moving forward. Craig said, I hate to say it, but I called the sweep. Adam, making the bases bigger, WTF. Yeah, I know.
That's a big league thing. We'll get there too.
That's a big league deal. Yeah, I'm not sure. Adam says shifting is a strategy. Why eliminate it? If you don't like it, don't do it. Yeah, look, I agree with that too. I'm not a big fan of the shift, but I'm also not a fan of telling people they can't shift. I don't even know how you control that. I mean, how do you do that? This is your only area you can move with it. Outfielders can technically shift too. You're going to stop them. I don't get it. Let's see here. Clint said, I assume Darren is referencing Martin's Twitter stuff. It's time for Frank to be gone, in my opinion. Jan, I'm guessing a non-favorite one. Their attorney Will. What did I miss here? What happened last night?
I think Jan may have been referencing me saying last night was bad, but no, I mean, the only potential there would have been if Drake had beaten Loyola, and there's a possibility that Loyola could get in had they lost that, but no bids have been stolen yet.
Okay, gotcha. Clint said the sad thing is Clemson didn't really impress me. Clint, I love you, but I would disagree with that. I think Clemson's they got it. They've got arms. Actually, their staff reminds me of Carolina's staff last year, but offensively they're more complete. Caden Grice was awful this weekend. He's their best player, and they still swept South Carolina. Defensively, they're good. Clint also said I didn't love his statement about Levesque either, referencing Frank Martin. Jan said Clemson has coached well all around, but not really better talent. No. Adam says my thoughts for the whole weekend are pretty negative, so I'll defer from making any comments about Carolina athletics today. That's funny. Jan said Monty and his staff don't get caught in the analytics like we do. They just play the dang game. And then Robbie said they can ban dugouts for all I care. Just get back on the dang field.
Agree. Let's go, man.
Let them sit in the stands and let's just see them play baseball, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So we do have a lot of baseball comments here, so I'll kind of start with some of those, Darren, and then we'll evolve. We're gonna lump Wes Mitchell into a lot of this conversation as well. And we do have Scott Wingo coming up today at 1:05 too. I think. Hopefully he'll answer his phone. I think he will. Look, in this is not an excuse statement in any way, shape, or form. I like Clemson's baseball team. I think they're good. You know, when you've been around it long enough, you recognize when you have a good team. They have a good team, and Monty has, kind of gone through the grind a little bit in getting this team kind of to where they are. They probably still have some question marks with Saturday, Sunday starters, although clearly flipping their Saturday, Sunday starters this weekend worked for the Tigers. But they've got the pieces, and they've got a bullpen, which you have to have. They've got an edge and a fight about them. They play well defensively. They've got some pop. They also have guys who just understand and know how to hit the baseball. So, are they a team that's capable of winning the national championship? I don't know that yet. There's a couple of teams out there that Tennessee probably is. Vanderbilt is. Texas is. There's some teams we've seen that are kind of no-brainers. Like, it's going to be a shocker if they're not in Omaha. They're just loaded. I think Clemson, to get to that level, still has a couple of more weeks to go, and let's see it. Let's see how they do once they get into the ACC and stuff like that. But overall, I don't know if it's his best team or not. I haven't thought that deep into it, but they're good. Now, does that excuse South Carolina from being swept? Absolutely not. No, sir. When you are a program of this stature, it goes for Carolina and Vanderbilt and Florida and Mississippi State and Ole Miss and LSU and Arkansas. Name the whole SEC. Clemson, traditionally Miami, Texas. The best teams in the best programs we've ever seen in the sport. Mm-hmm. Sweeps should not be in your arsenal ever in any period. Like, you're going to get swept sometimes, but it should not be something that happens, if that makes sense. Like, don't do it, but it could happen, but don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like
don't let this be a thing, right? Even if you continue to stay thin on the mound, don't let this be a thing. Don't let this be a trend, because what happens if it happens again? And then
Yeah.
Right. And then you're taking a deep breath. Right. I'll say this. I didn't watch a ton of college baseball this weekend. I watched a good bit of Friday's game, more than the other two. So Sanders impressed me. The level of talent on the field impressed me. I mean, it stood out. It stood out for Clemson more so than it did for me for South Carolina. Other than that, because I'm not invested in the rivalry, right? It sucks to get swept by your rival, but it is an early season series and one that hopefully you can build on. And I kind of defer to what Sapikov said. Like, you hope that the team that loses this can look back and say, you know what, like we lost to a hell of a team, or vice versa. Team that wins it can say, you know what, that really boosted our resume moving forward. We're like 3-4 weeks into the season here, so there's still plenty of time, even though taking that one on the chin, I'm sure, hurts.
Yeah, I mean, it's your look. Had the Gamecocks been swept this weekend by somebody else, people would still be frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to be more frustrated than the guys who are playing the game.
Yep.
It hurts in that locker room. But it doesn't magnify itself publicly like when you get swept by your rival, in addition to the fact that your rival seemingly kind of owns you right now and everything.
Yep.
Outside of women's basketball. I mean, you know, they had look, you know, facts are facts. This isn't me attacking the University of South Carolina. It's not me. It's not my nature. But I mean, last year, a startup softball program whipped Carolina, who used to be a traditional power. You know, we all know what's happened in football, right? Do we really need to rehash that? The men's basketball team got beat earlier this year. Of course, they only had about 7 players to play the game with. But recent success has been slim against those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They did win the series last year against Clemson in baseball, and they were better than Clemson last year in baseball. But now Monty, I think, is 13-8, I believe. He's been up there, and they've won a lot of the last few series. And that's you know, so that stuff overall is going to stick in the craw of fans, and I get it. Like, I totally understand that. I mean, I hear you, and there's nothing I can't defend it, you know, and I'm not gonna try to. I'm not gonna try to tell somebody that when you're a fan of a certain school that it should be okay. You should let it wash off your back that your rival's whipping you up and down the field or the court every time they play you. I mean, nobody wants that. So, you know, the other side of it, the way that I try to think about things is everything is cyclical. I mean, there was a time where South Carolina literally owned the school in the upstate and everything, basketball, baseball, and football, and it wasn't that long ago, and you have to hope that it gets changed at some point in time in the future. But right now, it doesn't look likely. In addition to that, you know, with the baseball team, and I just saw Tim Frisbee said something on Twitter, and I don't disagree with him at all. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a question that Clemson is a good team. I think the bigger question is, why does South Carolina not? Obviously, a lot of baseball to play, but excuses for state-of-the-art programs are running out, in my opinion. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for Tim. Darren, I don't know if I don't know that I've seen an excuse anywhere. I'm certainly not making one. This team will be better once Julian Bosnick gets back, but Julian Bosnick is one guy. Mm-hmm. He's not 8 arms. There's not going to be 8 Julian Bosnicks in the bullpen. He's going to be a starter, so he's going to make you instantly better. But again, how high does that raise the ceiling? You know, we don't know. And again, and I'll kind of pass the baton back to you here, Darren. As we pointed out last week, this is such a proud program that when it struggles, people aren't used to that. It doesn't click, shouldn't click. I get it, and so there's kind of a freak out of what's happened. This used to be, you used to be able to say as a South Carolina fan, above all else, we got baseball season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, period, the end. You knew you were going to win at least 40 games of baseball. And it was like, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Yeah, and Carolina's going to win 40 games of baseball. Yeah, I know, it's true. That hasn't been the case for a while. And so fans are frustrated, and I believe rightly so.
You spent an entire week, right? I mean, you woke up Monday thinking about this weekend and how excited you are. And that's a tone for the fan base because of everything you just laid out. Like, we always have baseball, right? It stings to take it on the chin. I agree with what Stauffer said here. You know, just from a big picture perspective, it's there's Clemson, and that just happened. And then kind of like what I just said, what happens if it piles up on top of that, right? You got Texas, you got Vanderbilt. Like, you're into the meat of it now, and you start the meat of it like this. So from a outside, the rivalry part hurts. If you want to take the bigger picture of what's going on, there's a hold your breath moment right here saying, first of all, how much are we really going to be able to tell? But what type of hole are we going to dig or be able to avoid digging in these next 4 weeks? I mean, that's the bigger picture right here. Can they get healthy? Can they find more consistency, right? And can they avoid a really big hole here to start the season? Because that's on the horizon. That's on the table. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the best team in the country coming to your ballpark, even though they lost to UCLA yesterday somehow. But the best team in the country comes to your ballpark starting Friday for a 3-game series. And so, now Will Sanders is pitching, but kind of a news flash to everybody. Texas has an ace on Friday too.
Mm-hmm.
They also have one Saturday, and believe it or not, this can shock you. They have one Sunday. I mean, they're really, really good. And they got Xavier tomorrow, Carolina does, so got to win that. And then you're right, Darren. I mean, you hit the meat of it, and I think you mentioned Stauffer, and I believe his name is Leighton, if I've seen before. If I'm incorrect, you correct me, but I think your name's Leighton. Don't have a take a breath series for the next 4 weeks, and in Leighton, I don't want this to come off as rude in any way, shape, or form. I think you'll understand what I'm saying. It's not the next 4 weeks. They don't have a take a breath series for the next 11 weeks because there is no take a breath series in the SEC. And if you're really good, you might be able to sniff one or two here and there. If you're average, there isn't one at all. It doesn't matter who you play. So you got Texas, and then you got Tennessee, Vandy, at Missouri, where they, for whatever reason, don't play well often. Georgia, Ole Miss, at Auburn, at Alabama, at A&M, Kentucky, at Florida. I mean, none of those are. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to have to figure it out. And is it time to start shifting into freak out mode? No. But I'm a baseball guy. Like my head clicks differently, Darren. So I don't think much further than the next game. Never have. So this is still you got to play the year, and let's see what happens.
I mean, we're not even into the year, right? So we should not be talking freak out mode. Can you have the conversation in 2 months? Hopefully not, but at least that's a sample size that you can evaluate there. I mean, freak out mode here is, ultra sensitive if you're heading freak out mode right now.
No, and there's a lot of people out there that are, and none of them here in our Share Healthcare chat lines. Thank all of you for having good head on your shoulders today. I did see Clint say Braswell's the best player on both teams. He's something. I thought this might be a tricky weekend for him. Nope. He's really good. He's really, really good. And he'll hit a lull at some point in time. It might be this weekend against Texas. Might be tomorrow against Xavier. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, everybody does in baseball. It doesn't matter, freshman, senior, whatever. More than likely, freshmen hit him sooner. And so that'll happen. But we know what he's capable of. He is really, really good. Carolina's got and they don't have what they had last year. Let's just be honest, it's from an arm standpoint. But they're going to have to find roles soon, and then those guys are just going to have to get better and better in their roles. It's just nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. And offensively, they got to hit with runners on base. I mean, that's what happened this weekend. They couldn't hit with runners on. Yeah, they made a couple of mistakes out in the field. Did it hurt them? No doubt. But when you score 6 runs in 27 innings, that's going to hurt you a lot more. And they just couldn't score. So who knows what happens? It's not going to get any easier. You got 2 of the best pitching staffs on the planet in the next couple of weeks with Texas and Tennessee, and then you got another one in Vanderbilt right after that, and it's going to be very difficult for South Carolina. Darren, to kind of start to weave this conversation towards Wes Mitchell, we're going to come back to baseball as well, but I certainly want to shift to basketball. It was, look, I'm not was anybody surprised they got beat by Auburn? Because I wasn't. I was actually a little bit more surprised that they continued to kind of hang in there, and it had some miracle happen. They could have pulled off a stunner, but it didn't happen, and they did lose, and now they have to go into the SEC tournament as a 7 seed against Mississippi State. Here's the good news. You have a quad 2 and 2 quad 1 opportunities sitting right in front of you for South Carolina. Like, if all could possibly go right, as you mentioned last week, at least the meat is there for you to bite into, right? Like you're not going to skate through a bunch of quad 3, quad 4 type opportunities. No, it's going to be quad 1 and then Tennessee and then probably Kentucky. If you hit it out of the park and you go to Tampa and you make a lot of noise, that's the good side. The bad side is they haven't proven that they're able to beat those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's a lot, and I didn't see it, Darren, until just a little while ago when you texted me, and then even an hour after that and looked, I just went and looked and saw that Frank was engaged last night on Twitter with a bunch of fans. And I think today there's been a lot of response to that.
There's a lot in what you just said. I guess I'll start on the floor. There's no prayer of an NCAA tournament without winning the SEC. If you get to the NCAA tournament and win the SEC going through that path, you'll take a heck of a lot of momentum in. That's good. There was a lot this weekend I really didn't like. And when we talk about the totality of the year, when we talk about evaluating a career, when we talk about evaluating a tenure, it includes everything. And we've talked about it a lot on this show of let's wait and see how things go. Let's wait and see the momentum of the team, the progression of the team. It's more than just on the floor. What you heard in the post-game press conference from Martin eviscerating Levesque was not a good look. That can't happen. It's the second time I believe it's happened this year. I don't know if the first one was Levesque. It's the second time there was a player, whether he brought it up or it came from an answer to a question, either way. You can't go down that road. You just can't. And he did it again. And then what happened last night was bad. And honestly, I thought he made it worse today. What happened last night, if you missed it, Frank Martin took to Twitter. I'll read it. Back-to-back tweets. I don't know. It says they're separated by an hour. Obviously, last year was a difficult and complicated one. I'm so proud of our team this year. We finished above 500 for the 7th time. We also have finished 500 or better in the SEC for the 5th time. Excited for next week. Special group of guys. He follows that. When you take into consideration that since we joined the SEC, we have only 9 seasons where we were 500 or better overall and 5 times in SEC play, we've built a winning program. If you take to Twitter and do something like that completely unsolicited, it's not going to go well. Frank Martin issued a public defense of himself. Today, he said it was in support of his guys. There's nothing in that statement that's a support of his guys. That statement, outside of I'm proud of my team this year, everything else was what has this program accomplished over his tenure. He went on a space that he typically doesn't go on, certainly not to do something like this, and issued a public defense of himself. In doing so, he shows me, I could be wrong, he shows me that there is friction. This is the second time that I've noticed this in the last couple of weeks between him and the athletic administration, because he just, and if there wasn't, there is now. He just put public pressure on them. So what's the backstory there? What is he, why is he coming out now and doing something like that? And why does he follow it up and say it was about my guys when it clearly wasn't about his guys? He even answered some other tweets saying the success he's had and touting the success he has had comparable to other teams that South Carolina has had and coaches and tenures. This situation has gotten to a point right now where this is not, look, I think Frank Martin's a good guy. Everybody knows that he is. I don't need to say that. He doesn't need me to say that. It comes a point when I think certain times it's better for both sides to say it might be time to go our separate ways. For me, at this point, the totality of all of this, it's going to be hard for the totality of all of this to get me back from, I think it's probably time for both sides to get a fresh start. That's my read on it. And it hasn't changed. It's even strengthened today as I've talked to other people.
12:29. Darren, I would respond, but we're up against it here, so we'll get Wes Mitchell in, and we'll have more of a conversation about it. Don't go anywhere. Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central joins Darren and I next on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Yeah, if I can play the commercial.
Zell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, 12:32. Welcome back. Monday afternoon on the JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Real quick before we get to West, some other nuggets from the weekend in college baseball. Coastal went to Chapel Hill, was swept at Boshemer by North Carolina, and the College of Charleston was swept at High Point. How about that? They were actually shut out in 2 of those 3 games. Now 7-4. Our coach Holbrook's Cougars to start the year. Citadel hadn't lost a series yet, boys and girls. 8-3 now to start the season, and 2 of 3 from Northern Kentucky this weekend. By the way, Northern Kentucky beat Mississippi State last weekend. Surprisingly good team. And how about CSU? CSU up until yesterday had won 8 straight. They're 8-5 to start the year under Coach Mack. Took 2 of 3 from a really good Sanford team this weekend. Sanford has as Darren well knows, a great baseball program. Mm-hmm. And so that's a nice weekend for Charleston Southern. So a couple of nuggets to pass along there. Speaking of which, this guy always has something to pass along. He covers the Gamecocks for South Carolina. Luckily, he's covering a football team and recruiting right now, and essentially you can't lose just yet on the football side. But Wes is around it all, and he's going to pop in and be a part of our conversation today. We'll see how much fun we can make it, Wes. What's up?
Oh, yeah, what's up, guys? I mean, wow, the Gamecock fans have not had a weekend like that.
No,
thankfully. in a while. Didn't it feel like there's always ebbs and flows, right? There's ups and downs, but that one was rough. So I guess that's what we're here for, though. The fans can commiserate, they can get in the chat, they can complain, and I guess we'll have we'll try to help them through a tough weekend.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try to do that. By the way, the latest D1 baseball rankings are now out. Clemson has, as I thought, whoever won this series would get into the top 25, and they have rocketed into the top 25 all the way to 19 as one of the 5 undefeateds left in the country. Texas will remain number 1 as they come to Founders Park this weekend for that series. Oh, and by the way, what follows the Longhorns, as we all know, is at Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and why not? Tennessee's ranked 10th and Vanderbilt's ranked 4th. So the next 3 series, all top 10 programs in the country. All right, Wes, kind of want to continue this conversation with you that we were just having. I didn't get much of a chance to engage in it, but Darren laid it out there with the basketball program. Not about the loss this weekend. I think most people understood the task that was in front of them to go to the Plains and beat one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country in Auburn. And although I thought they hung in there well. James Reese had a nice night, and it's good to see Josh Gray playing again and things like that. They lost, and so they're the 7 seed, and they got Mississippi State to lead off the SEC tournament this week. But most people today haven't wanted to talk about that, and even last night, it was more about Frank on being very engaged last night on Twitter, and also his comments about Wildens Levesque following the loss against Auburn. And then what was strange about those comments is after he said basically it hurt his eyesight to watch Wildens Levesque play, the press conference was over. I don't even know. Generally, it's like, all right, thanks, guys. I don't even think that happened. So I'm just going to kind of ask you to evaluate, the last 24 plus hours or so of the program postseason. Now they're 18 and 12, 9-9 overall. And then now you've kind of got some added drama. Do you want to call it that, Wes? Some added drama leading into the SEC tournament, just surrounding Coach Frank Martin and what he has and has not said.
Yeah, I mean, that was I think sometimes one of the reasons we love Frank Martin is he most of the time says what is on his mind. And in this case, he kind of let it fly. And, I think it's been obvious throughout most of SEC play that, Levesque has not been able to build off of what I thought was a pretty good start to the season. In out of conference play, he's kind of playing up to that standard of what I think they were hoping he could be for the team. And it sounded to me like Frank sort of, let his frustration kind of get the better of him there. But he's always been somebody, as we know, to let it fly as far as exactly how he feels. And, I think you can tell, even from some of Frank's comments about, how people handled the Josh Gray being out situation. Y'all can go back and listen to those comments too if you want. I didn't necessarily understand exactly those, but I think you can tell. Obviously, Frank wasn't happy with how he was treated last year either, last offseason. So I think there, I don't think animosity is the word, but I think there are pressures right now, and you sometimes see that come across in press conferences, and I think that's what's happening right now. Lost in all that is that this is, I would say, a solid basketball team. I don't think it's a great basketball team, but I certainly don't think you're looking at a program that has bottomed out either by any chance. This is not a terrible basketball program by any means, and it's going to be a very interesting offseason because of that. There's no black and white answer as far as this goes.
Yeah, look, I mean, he did say some things that are factual. And the fact that this program traditionally is not above 500 in league play, and they have been a bunch underneath him. They are still playing basketball, I might add. They do have a game coming up this week, at least one. And then, guys, we all agree they're in the NIT, right? Even with say they lose first round, they're in the NIT.
Should be.
Yeah. At 18 and 13. What about the engagement on social media last night, Wes? I'm not a I follow Frank Martin, but I don't keep up with when he does and doesn't tweet or anything like that. But when Darren pointed out this morning how the conversation that was ongoing last night, I didn't even see it. I went back and looked at it, and then I kind of just scrolled back just for reference to see how often Frank has spent on Twitter, and it's not been much, rare. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think at times he does get on there and, speak his piece. And obviously that was the case last night. He had some things to say. Frankly, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I'm just reading it right now.
So I was.
I try to, I don't know. I disengage from Twitter myself from time to time. For the most part, Frank Martin does as well. If you look, there was a tweet February 27th, a tweet March 2nd, and then a whole line of tweets yesterday. Let's see, that's 14 hours ago now. And, I think Frank just wanted to say his piece on there and, responded to a fan or two. There were some fans, obviously, who have been very negative on there. There were some fans coming to Frank Martin's support as well. But here's the thing, whether you like him, love him, don't like him, Frank Martin's going to be himself. And, I think that has rubbed some people the wrong way from the very beginning, some because of how he carries himself on the court as well. I think some fans have looked for an opening to try to push Frank out for some time. Now, some of the negativity, obviously, just go back to the fact you haven't made the tournament except for the one time. Absolutely. Those are facts as well. And I think that's why it's such an interesting conversation, is that, we can take numbers and we can skew them. You can skew them one way and talk about, the number of winning seasons and, you can skew them back the other way and talk about the fact that, he's had a couple of the winningest seasons in school history and has gone farther than anyone in school history with the 2017 team. So there are really two pretty strong arguments on both sides of this thing. And it seems like the fans who are in one camp or the other aren't probably going to change their mind. And the other thing is that you have, guess what, the number, depending on where you look, the number 1 or the number 7 overall basketball recruit in the country for 2023, who's out there looking at possibly choosing your program as well.
I'll just lay out, in case you missed it, what bothered me so much about last night. It was that it wasn't a response to somebody. He started this last night, and then it was like a public defense out of nowhere, which to me lays a whole big onus right onto the school and throws out like, here's my resume, guys. Like, I don't know the point of doing that. And then the interactions, to me, made it a little bit worse, because then it was more about him and his success. And then his answer today, I did it because I was in a good mood and I was supporting my guys. It wasn't about his guys. It was about his career. And to me, that says a lot about what's going on behind the scenes, right? Right. Tanner made some comment about postseason runs. Then on the sideline, he's wearing a Final Four or a tournament, pullover or whatever it is. Now he just randomly throws this out there. To me, in being in this business for 20 years, covering all sorts of coaches, right? It screams friction. It screams something's off. And it hit me wrong. It did. It hit me wrong.
Well, and I'll push back to an extent and say, is that not Frank's right to say how he feels? I mean, the friction has been there for 12 months now. The friction, most, I don't know if I should say most people, a lot of people went into this season saying it's tournament or bust for South Carolina. Now, whether the administration felt that way, who knows? Because, and there's a different president, right? So, it's not a completely different group of people, but the guy completely in charge this time last year, is a different person than it is right now. But point being, there has been pressure building since last year when Frank Martin was very nearly let go. And the fact that I think you're seeing the realization that it's going to take a minor sports miracle for South Carolina to make the tournament this year, probably is why we're seeing that. And to your point, whenever coach, I mean, like when Muschamp started spouting the thing about the first 3 years had more wins than any coach ever here. Whenever coaches start to talk about stuff like that, that generally is a sign that there is an exceptional amount of pressure that is building up underneath them. So it was a little bit out of nowhere. This is what happens though. I feel like when Craig says they would need a major sports miracle to make the tournament,
like the Miracle on Ice type miracle. Yeah, I mean it's it is interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as you pointed out, Wes, Frank's never had a problem saying what he thought or felt or anything like that. But getting on Twitter and basically rolling it out there. I mean, he didn't say anything that wasn't factual. It's not like he didn't lie about anything. I mean, he said the truth. I mean, it was true. But the timing, I think, is what has kind of caught everybody off guard. Like, no one would even think about this if his job wasn't being discussed publicly day in and day out, right? If his future at South Carolina, no one would even think about it. They would just, whatever. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's good. That's a great point, Frank. The comments about Wildens Levesque the other day, I don't know what to read into that, because all I can ever go off of, Wes, is what is told to me by people that know a lot more than I do. And the people that tell me a lot more than I do are Frank and his players have an incredible relationship. All right. I mean, so I can't say that's right or wrong, because you've been around a lot of coaches, Wes. You've been around a lot of coaches. I've been around a lot of coaches. Coaches use different tactics all the time. They use the media sometimes as an outlet only for their players, just so their players will hear something differently, basically. I'm not saying that's what he was doing. I have no idea. But do you make anything of his criticism of Wildens Levesque, who has been struggling lately? And is that something that you think was directed solely at Wildens Levesque, or was there more to it? Like, was it just another piece of the frustration pie almost bubbling over?
Yeah, and I don't want to speak on it like I'm an expert in what's going on inside the men's basketball program, because I haven't been to a single press conference this year, so I'm not going to sit here and just speak from a position of knowledge when I don't have it. I think the impression you get, when you first hear that, you're like, okay, that was pretty harsh, right? Like that was some strong words. I think there are some obvious frustrations there. Now we do know Frank Martin, that's, his style is that he is going to push and push and push and push. And you have to, it's no secret at this point. Like you have to be pretty thick skinned to play for Frank Martin. Like I'm not telling anyone anything they don't already know. Like that's part of it. So, I don't know what Frank Martin and Wildens Levesque's relationship is like on and off the court. I don't know what their discussion was like after that. Did Frank go talk to him after and say, hey, I was harsh, my bad? Did he say, did you see what I said? I meant it. I don't know, but certainly, I think most of the fan base, based on the reaction I saw on our message boards, was kind of like, that's spitting some fire there.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know. Again, I don't know that Frank Martin is a guy who's going to say something in the media that he hasn't already or isn't planning to say to your face. You know what I mean? And
exactly, yeah.
I just, and I don't know that Frank is also, again, this isn't my defense of him. I'm just trying to analyze what's happened here. Like, I also don't know that Frank is publicly going to criticize one of his players unless he thinks that kid can handle it. Because if he doesn't, And I don't know that he's going to do that. And look, I've coached. Okay. If you've sniffed any level of athletics, you understand that coaches have a lot of different tactics that they use. So, unless he came out and basically said this got personal with him, like this kid's an idiot and he smells bad and he's stupid, criticizing their play publicly, I don't know, man. I can't get caught up in all that.
You know what, it bothered me when I heard it. And then I thought last night made it worse because there's a time where he's like going after players and then he follows that up touting himself. So there's, again, Wes, I think it speaks to the pressure that you're talking about that's so obviously there, but it seems like it's not just a roller coaster of a season on the floor, but like emotions are all over the place. It just doesn't feel like stable ground. And I'm not sitting here advocating for a change. I didn't do that in the last segment either. But there is a time when it may be best for both to say, you know what, let's take a breath. Maybe a fresh start for both sides is needed if it's at this point of friction and pressure. And because if it continues another year, what changes? Yeah, maybe you have a high-ranked recruit. Maybe you're a little bit better, but really what changes? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and I think And by the way, is Frank touting himself or is he touting his teams? Because he never says I. He never says Frank. He says we.
True. We. But it wasn't about this team, as he said today, because it was about his tenure's worth of teams. So no, it wasn't him.
His second sentence was, "I am so proud of our team this year."
That's the only time he mentioned it. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I can see why it rubs you the wrong way. At the same time, I think Frank obviously just felt for whatever reason, maybe he gets on Twitter and sees a bunch of people being incredibly negative, and he felt the need to respond. And again, that's his right. Is he being defensive? Is he just saying how he feels? I mean, I guess that's for the people to decide.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to, again, kind of wait and see where things go. And, I guess the only thing I'll say to kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, I literally had no problem with what he tweeted. I just wouldn't have responded to anybody. I just wouldn't have responded. I just would have said what I said. And I mean, I don't think that what he said he wasn't wrong. I mean, it was factual. And he said he was proud of the team. And he said, it's been a couple of difficult years, but he's proud of them. So leave it at that and let people say what they want. That's just my opinion. And go play basketball. That'd
have been better.
Yeah, just go play basketball. Just don't worry about responding, and then you don't have to deal with it. And they do have to go play basketball. They have Mississippi State coming up on, I don't know what day that is, Thursday at 6:00 on the SEC network down in Tampa. Maybe we'll see a Steven Garcia sighting. I think he was in Columbia this weekend. Dude's everywhere. All right, Wes. Overall, it's tough sledding right now. You couldn't even rely on the women's team to win this weekend. I mean, what the hell's going on here? You got men's basketball, baseball, the ladies. It was a tough weekend for South Carolina. I can't imagine what your message boards have looked like. Good news is, though, that football's about to start spring practice soon.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That, I mean, Gamecock football, it felt like the positivity had kind of rolled over to some of the other sports. I don't know if that's perception, but or if that's just perception. But for a couple of months there,
when did that happen?
There were some pretty good times in Gamecock Nation, and Yuva has his days in a row of Gamecock positive Gamecock Twitter that he does. That thing got smashed this weekend, I think. So, the interesting thing is, I think there's more negative backlash about the baseball result than there was about the other two, because you look that, just getting swept by Clemson, for this fan base, that hurts. And for it to happen the way it did, that hurts. That stings. I think,
that happened in 26 years. People are like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. And you look at the women's basketball, like yes, there was hardware on the line, so you never want to just downplay a loss when there's a chance to win another title. But would you rather have would you rather have like the eye-opening loss now, or would you rather have it, in a few weeks? So I think if that team is able to maybe play better, but coming off of a loss, then you look at it and you say, there's no great losses when there's a championship on the line. But if this team goes on to win the title, the big title, then most people aren't going to look back and complain about the SEC championship. Men's basketball, it was a tough loss because obviously you needed it on your resume, but nobody was out there picking South Carolina to go beat Auburn at Auburn when Auburn hadn't lost at home all year long. They're the best team in the SEC. So I really think, just looking at the fans, the baseball series loss and the way it happened, probably stung the most this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, we just said it a little while ago, and I'll say it again. I mean, football has long been mediocre, good, mediocre, bad. Oh, good year. There's never been anything consistent about the football program. There's never been anything consistent about the basketball program that there has with baseball. And South Carolina for, 50 years now has always been able to rest their hat on, hey, at least we have baseball season, because, Wes, as you well know, there was once a time and day where, look, death, taxes, and Carolina was going to win at least 40 games in baseball. Period. Like, there was really no other. It was shocking if you almost didn't win 50, and now people, that's not consistent anymore. And people are concerned that the bread and butter of this athletics department, what the women have done under Dawn is spectacular. It's nowhere near what South Carolina baseball has accomplished all time. It's nowhere near. Period. The end. Take those comments for what you want, but what baseball has done is what people are most proud of in this athletics department of all time. And folks have felt like it's slipping away. There's a long ways to go. Okay, long ways to go. So early in the year, they've only played 11 games. That's not even 20% of the season. But people feel like it's slipping away from them, and that hurts. And I understand it. I get it.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And I think what we're seeing and what we've seen the last decade or so, really, because that sounds crazy to say, crazy to think, I should say. It has been a decade since the title runs, and the rest of the conference has made life far more difficult on South Carolina. And I think you're seeing that talent get spread around the various teams in the SEC more. I think South Carolina was ahead of the curve on building the new baseball facility. South Carolina was ahead of the curve in their conference on actually going out and making baseball a priority. And they were, for a stretch, the most consistent team in the SEC. And now I think you've seen the other programs catch up. In a lot of cases, they've passed South Carolina. But as far as like actually supporting baseball, the rest of the league is on par in a lot of places, and better in some places than South Carolina. And that stings, because you're not seeing South Carolina, just top to bottom, in my opinion, have that upper level elite talent like we were used to seeing them have for so long, and in many cases just being better than what they're going to see year in or week in, week out in SEC play. And I don't know what those answers are to fix that. I think the thought process coming into this year was already that there was going to be some depth concerns on the mound, and you were hoping they would sort of work their way out and that guys were going to step up when the season started. But then, you lose one of your starters for the season. You're still missing another starter. Seitler is still hurt as well, and only able to play in the field. So you're talking about having some really tough injuries at a spot that already was a major concern. So I don't want to even bring up the injuries as in like that's the only reason this is happening, because I'm not saying that at all. But you could not afford to have those injuries because there were already depth concerns, and we've seen several injuries in the spots you absolutely could not afford to have them.
Yeah, and you pair that with what's going to end up being the most difficult schedule played in college baseball. It's it's a scary thought for South Carolina fans. It's also scary to think that they're 7-4, and realistically, right now could be 5-6 with a couple of games they've had to come back and win. Big deficits, Greensboro, App State, they won the games. We do have Scott Wingo coming up next, and so we're certainly going to talk plenty of Carolina baseball with him. Before we let you run here, Wes, all the newcomers last week, the transfer guys got a chance to meet with the media. What stood out the most to you?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think first and foremost, love Antoine Wells' mindset. I think this kid's got a great mental approach to the opportunity he has. Expecting big things out of him. Terrell Dawkins, hilarious dude, great personality. I think he's going to be a media favorite. And, the big name, obviously, Spencer Rattler. This kid has come in. We've said it a couple of different times. Humbled but confident. I think he brings a nice mix of those two things to the table. Carries himself in those media settings like a professional athlete, I think. Knows that they're important, but also just has that sort of air of confidence. He used the word refreshed, I think, as far as how he feels about his transition to South Carolina. And I think what we're seeing is that, yes, South Carolina needed Spencer Rattler. They wanted to try and upgrade their quarterback position. But I think South Carolina has been a great fit for Spencer Rattler as well, a great reset, a great opportunity for him. And so I'm excited to watch all those guys here in a couple of weeks and just see it from my own eyes, what I've been hearing about what they've been doing so far.
And it's the most exciting spring practice we've had to look forward to, Wes. I honestly would say since Spurrier's first one. Even in those great years, it's just different. It's a different feel. It's very 05 springish feel for me. So we'll see if the crowd represents that at the spring game coming up in April. I can't imagine what's on Gamecock Central this week. There's nothing to talk about seemingly. So I'm sure you get your hands full. We, as always, will continue to point folks in your direction, Wes. You and Mike and Colin and Chris and everybody do an amazing job. We really, really appreciate it. There's going to be some pretty crappy weather moving in this week, so that sucks. But outside of that, everything's groovy, man. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good one. All right.
Later. Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. And it's the top of the hour, so it's time for a timeout. When we return, what are we calling this? Winging It With Wingo?
I went with that. I mean, there's nothing official, so this can be a floating titled thing, but Winging It With Wingo is the way it went today.
That sounds good. Winging It with Scott Wingo. Up next on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB and Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour on a Monday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Make sure you chime in on the Share Healthcare chat lines, and as important as anything, make sure that you've downloaded the JB and Goldwater app so you can contact us. We do have a couple of comments in there that we'll get to after this segment, thanks to Wes Mitchell in the last one. But now it's all right, Scotty. I think we've come up with an official name here. I don't know if it was Darren or one of our fans, but we've got Wingin It With Wingo on Mondays. Is that cool?
Man, I like it. Who thought of that?
I don't know.
It's what I was about to tweet last week, and then another one of the, I think it was in the Share Healthcare chat line, and someone brought that up. So the combination of like, I kind of had that idea and then saw that, and we kind of brought it up with you last week. So, hey, got the approval.
Man, that's good. I stamped that. That's good. I like it.
It sounds like an NIL opportunity for me. Scotty, you're like, what are you, 11 years removed from college baseball? NIL's in now, man. Make some shirts.
Y'all tell me what to do, man. I'm all in with you. Just you tell me.
Okay, I got you. We'll print them up and we'll get them out. All right, man. So back on the diamond tomorrow, I think, is when Xavier comes to town. But coming off of the sweep at the hands of Monty and the Tigers this weekend, tough weekend for the Gamecocks, certainly. And we're going to get into your side of things here in just a second with the guys in garnet and black. But I know Carolina fans won't want to hear this, Scott, but they're worthy of this. Clemson's got a good baseball team, so I tip my cap to those guys.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a good little team. Bullpen, starting pitching, all look pretty good. Offensively, we kind of held them at bay for a few games there. Friday and Sunday, they didn't do a whole lot on offense, but we just didn't do the same. Offensively, we didn't scratch or claw. Getting too many great or didn't have enough quality at bats. And we had some opportunities yesterday, and especially on Friday. That was a tough little loss there. I thought Will Sanders did an unbelievable job, gave us a shot to win, and just French hit a big 2-strike homer to tie it, and that loss, that was a tough one. And obviously Saturday we just didn't have the quality at bats we needed for sure, and they kind of stepped on us a little bit in the fourth or fifth. And then Sunday I thought we fought yesterday. Just didn't capitalize, and we had a couple men on there in a few innings, first and third, one out, less than 2 outs. Just didn't get it done, but it was good to see us fight on Sunday, and we've got some pieces in that lineup that it was good to see him fight. Our freshman catcher Lee Croy, to see him come up and keep that inning going in the ninth. He stuff like that is gonna, these guys that haven't played a lot, games like that and weekends like that hopefully will help us build and continue to get better and ready for those big moments. Some of those guys that haven't been in those big spots, hopefully that will make them grow, and that game will slow down just a little bit for them and continue to fight. And that's all we can do.
I do want to say this too. Hats off to the fans. Carolina baseball fans, Clemson baseball fans, 3 sold-out ballparks, almost 25,000 people to watch college baseball this weekend. You think college baseball doesn't matter? You got to reevaluate. It matters big time.
You ain't lying.
And that was awesome to see. So hats off to all the Gamecocks and all the Tigers who went out there this weekend to watch the game, Scotty. All right, so yeah, I mean, these are moments. I tell you what, to start this conversation, let's go back to 2010. And you can't compare rosters and things like that because that's not fair to anybody. But you were on that 2010 team. Y'all go up to, I think it was the second weekend. You go up and get beat by East Carolina, 2 of 3. Come home, and you got Clemson the following weekend, and you won the Saturday game, lost Friday, and then got thumped on Sunday by like 12 or 13 runs. And it was a 6-4 start, and everybody was wondering what on planet Earth is happening. This is following up the regional loss in 2009 at NC State. So people were really concerned about the future of the program. And then y'all didn't lose again for like 2 months. You just kept winning. And then, you ended up winning a national championship. Can you yourself, can you take anything from what you went through, early season struggles as a player, and relay that in this locker room to these guys following this tough series loss against the rivals?
Yeah, honestly, I felt like a lot of times that Clemson series, whether you won or you lost, that kind of, if you won, say Clemson would have, I think they beat us, was it one? Yeah, that 2010. Was that the only year they beat us in that series, regular season series? I think it was, from 8 to 11.
Yep.
But, if you win it, hopefully that propels you to go. If you lose it, hopefully it gets the guys fired up for that next, obviously the rest of the year. Because, that series, I feel like can either you get fired up, hey, you won it, let's keep riding, or hey, all right, we got to fight now. And hopefully that's the way we go, because it's not a good feeling getting swept by the Tigers. It's been a long time, I believe, since they've done it, but since they've swept us. But that's something to, now we got an opportunity to come out and fight. Obviously, we got a game tomorrow, but you got Texas coming to town, so that's a good opportunity and good challenge for us to just take on the number 1 team in the country and take a couple games. That would be awesome, and we got the guys on this team that I think will not going to be scared to do that, not going to be scared to fight, and I think we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, Scotty, I mean, when you see some of the – I mean, obviously there's guys here that you feel like they've been in uniform forever. Eister has been. As a matter of fact, I think Eister got here the year after you left, it seems like. But, you got him and Wimmer and Burgess. I mean, these are seasoned vets. And then you have guys who seemingly have the right frame of mind to be a baseball player, like a Michael Braswell. I mean, that kid, he forgets pretty easily, Scotty. And I think that is fantastic. As a freshman, you're going to make a mistake or two. How quickly can you forget about it is going to determine how well you're going to play. And he seems to let it roll right off his back. So when you watch it, I think that's probably where some people are frustrated and going, we're better than this. And is that the feel in the locker room, after the game yesterday? Are people looking around going, hey, this stings and we're going to remember this feeling, but we know deep down we're better.
Yeah, no doubt. And Coach Kingston said it pretty well after the game. It's a marathon, and there's obviously a few miles that are tough in every marathon you run. And right now we're in that, but you keep pushing, they get easier, and hopefully you get stronger. So yeah, there's no doubt after that game yesterday, it was good to at least know and see that, man, we kept pushing, kept fighting in the ninth there. Obviously got the tie and run up. And Braswell, yeah. I mean, he forgets. He'll swing the ball and he'll maybe swing at a bad pitch, and yeah, it's on to the next one, and that's good to see as a freshman, man. I know a lot of people have been asking me about him. He's a talented freshman and just works hard every day and just competes, and it's good to see a freshman shortstop, man. That sucker works hard and he just plays the game all out.
Man, he is some kind of special. How about on the bump? We're all waiting to hear about Julian Bosnick. I'm not asking for an update on him, Scotty. You'll get him back when you get him back, and hopefully it'll be sooner than later. I do understand he's at least started to throw. Maybe he's got some flat ground work in or something like that, so that is positive. He had to kind of piece it together. I mean, Noah Hall and John Gilreath get some starts this weekend, but I mean, essentially everybody's kind of pitching now. I didn't even know. I'll be honest with you. Maybe this is much more representative of me than anybody. I didn't even know who Matthew Becker was until yesterday, and he came out there and threw great. So, I mean, even with losses, and again, fans don't want to hear it necessarily, and I get that. It's Clemson. Nobody wants to lose to those guys, or your arch rival. Or when you see the staff and kind of rolling those guys out there and continuing to give them opportunities, has that been helpful in trying to kind of clamp it down with the conference season right around the corner to figure out who's going to be in what type of role?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we know that, these next few weeks we've got some injuries, and we're going to have to kind of hunker down and just take some punches and at the same time punch back while we get healthier. And obviously the guys we have in that bullpen, they're going to step up. I mean, Becker looked good yesterday. Aiden Hunter came in, he settled down and looked pretty good as well. So we've got some younger pieces, and as well as Gilreath and some other guys that will step up and look pretty good yesterday. So obviously we want to get those guys some runs and have a couple more quality at bats and just fight for them, because this is a team where we might be a little thin here and there, but we're going to get some guys back. And right now, just take some punches right now and keep fighting back, because hopefully in the long run we ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? We want to kind of build it up, ready to go for the end of that season. But you obviously got to get through it. You got to get some wins. You got to fight. So we're gonna keep pushing.
My math isn't spectacular, but shoot, Scotty, I think by my count this weekend there were 8 or 9, if not more than that, freshmen that played. That's a lot for a team that historically is as good as South Carolina, right? I mean, you know what the expectations are there. I mean, this is such a hard question to answer, but you've been around it so much. Maybe you can at least provide some type of insight. When do you start to see freshmen kind of graduate from being freshmen? At some point in time, they're not really freshmen anymore. They've been playing a lot of baseball. You play 60 games a season at least, hopefully. When do you start to see the light come on for some of these guys once you've been in there getting a bunch of game time?
I mean, I think it differs. It case by case. I remember Jackie Bradley Jr. I want to say his first game. I want to say it hit a home run his first game. I don't know if it was his first at bat in 2009, but was it 9? Yeah, 9.
Yeah.
But it kind of varies. I mean, after a few weeks, sometimes. I mean, Braswell, you could just tell he competes. You knew he's going to compete up in the box. So I thought he would be a guy from day one, just kind of be ready to go. And I think it changes. A few weeks in, 20, 30 at bats in, it changes. But hopefully those guys have been competing, in the fall and then in the spring. So you have an idea, but yeah, it kind of never. There's not really like a, you can't pinpoint it, but I think a few weeks in, and it changes offensively, or just really anything. Pitchers get on the mound and get going. So it's a good question, though.
Yeah, Scott Wingo 120.
I love him, but yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, look, there is no universal answer to that question, and I understand it. I just didn't know if there was kind of a general rule of thumb. I think there is an answer to this one. Maybe you have more clarification on it than I do, and this is not necessarily this is in any way, shape, or form not a reason why South Carolina lost a game this weekend, Scott. But what are we doing in baseball where we have guys, and this happened to Clemson this weekend, and this happened to the Gamecocks twice, where we have guys standing on the rubber in the stretch and they are stepping off with runners on base and the umpire is issuing a ball. It changes an entire at bat. Do you understand the rule? And has anybody explained why the hell this rule is even a part of the game? Because it absolutely should not be.
Right. Yeah. We on Friday we were, we didn't like a few of the calls there. I know with Grice, we were able to get out of that, I believe. But yeah, the 20-second rule. I think it's after they're on the mound. They've got 20 seconds to make the pitch, deliver the pitch, and we got called for a few times. And yeah, a few times we were a little bit confused of where, we thought their guys were on the mound, the same amount of time a few times. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we didn't like it, and not saying that affected anything during the game, but yeah, you don't like it when, a guy's sitting there and he stepped off, and I think he went to go throw it to second, and they called it on him when he attempted to throw it to second base. I think it shouldn't be called, but yeah, we got called on that a couple times, and that's not fun. You go from 2-2 or even 0-2 to 1-2 still, not good. So yeah, that rule, that was pretty tough, but nothing, it's not something that we're saying, oh, we got hosed on something. It's just something we got to either clean up or figure out what the actual rule is. Because I saw a few times it wasn't quite 20, and we got called on it. So.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. I mean, again, this has nothing to do with the outcome of it. I guess it could have something to do with the outcome of a game at some point in time. It's not an excuse, and It's not the reason why y'all got beat any of the games this weekend. It got called on Clemson as well. I just think it's stupid. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, I texted Drew Meyer this morning to get some clarification because he was calling the game on Friday, and I just wanted to make sure that my understanding was in line with his and Kip's understanding on Saturday, and he said that even though he had not actually read the rule, their producers said, hey, once a pitcher comes set with runners on base, you can't just step off. And if you do, you have to throw to a base or there's an automatic ball issued. Well, I mean, what if you can't see the signs or you don't maybe know what you thought you saw or you get a bug in your eye or anything like that? I mean, this is dumb. Do the people that run baseball actually like baseball? I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I agree. I mean, you get a warning, so you get one bug in your eye. I mean, you get one bug. That's it.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's a tough one. So you got to be. I mean, that catcher's got to be sharp. You got to be ready to. I mean, they're trying to get the game sped up, I guess. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough little rule there because I mean, there's things that pop up and shoot, you get one warning. Well, it's 3-2 count, bases juiced. That's a tough way to lose a ball game. Shoot.
Hey, I got news for everybody. It takes longer to make this call and stop the game than it does to just let the guy throw the damn pitch or to step off and step back on. They're actually extending the game longer. All right, let's move on real quick, Scotty. And I know you got to run. Xavier's up tomorrow. We know what comes in Friday. It's the top-ranked Longhorns, still number one in the country, even after UCLA beat them yesterday 5-1. They are really, really good. Gamecocks saw them last year. Were swept by them last year down in Austin. So what is, in addition to playing the game and winning the game tomorrow against Xavier, what are y'all working on this week as you head towards the Texas series? Things that you saw this weekend or that you've seen throughout the season that you need to continue to work on and get cleaned up? What's kind of at the top of the list?
Right. One is having a couple more quality at bats. Had a few bit of good bit of fly balls this weekend. I felt like just at bats that weren't productive. Less than 2 outs, runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
Staying in the middle of the field. Didn't have a ton of strikeouts. I felt like, but just the quality of that bat, wasn't great. A couple, just weak grounders, fly balls. But that's something that you got to give credit to Clemson as well. I mean, they've got some bullpen pieces that were pretty dang good. So we're not, it's not something to panic offensively. It's just something that, just to work on, harp on, stay in the middle of the plate, or if 2 strikes, just hunt the outside part of the plate and fighting inside. But yeah, you got to give credit to those guys. They had a couple arms that were, 93, 95, 96. And that's not easy, but this game isn't easy. So we'll keep fighting, and I think we'll adjust. And yeah, you got the Longhorns coming to town, and that's, for me, you got the number 1 team in the country. I like that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be one of the best, you got to beat the best, and right now they're number 1. So they're coming to our house, and that's a good feeling knowing they're coming up in here, and we got number 1 team in the country. So our guys will be we'll be fired up on Friday. I promise you that. But still gotta beat Xavier first, and take it one game at a time. So we'll focus on Xavier tomorrow and hopefully start the week 1-0.
3 straight top 10 opponents on the Gamecock schedule: Texas, Tennessee, and Vandy. Did you see the Tennessee guy, Scott, last week, who hit 103.5 miles per hour on the gun? Did you see that?
Yeah, that's a donkey right there, isn't it?
You think?
I mean, that guy 103.
Dude,
I mean, I've seen probably 99, maybe 100 before, but 103, that's coming.
That's humming.
I mean, that's.
Here we go. I am in here, but JB is still trying to get in. So Xavier comes in town. We'll wrap this up and hit a break. Xavier's in tomorrow, and then plan for the rest of the week just to get ready for the weekend here with Texas.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And we don't. I know you got the number 1 team coming, but it's a big game on Tuesday against Xavier, and that's a pretty good team coming in. So we can't take anyone lightly, and you know how baseball is. You just got to take it one game at a time and be ready to go every single day.
Scott, I got disconnected there for a second. I have no idea how that happened, but I'm back, and we'll let you run on that.
We were going through it. StreamYard decided to kick us both out and freeze the screen and everything. It was fun.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't a me thing.
No.
Okay. All right. Scotty, we'll let you run on that note, brother. Going to try to make it to town for the Saturday game this weekend. If I do, I will let you know, and certainly look forward to catching up with you. Go get them. It's huge series, huge opportunity for Gamecock baseball. Thank you as always.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys, and let me know on Saturday.
I will. Hey, Kingston. I got to address this with King because he promised me, if I bring the kids up, he'd give them all access to the facility and all that. Can I get them in there? Can I sneak them in for some BP downstairs?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to see me hit, do you?
Huh?
You don't want to see me you don't want to see me take a couple hacks, do you?
Hey, I'll throw you some BP.
Hey, look, Smoke might be coming up this weekend too now. So if he's down there taking BP, I sure as hell ain't hitting.
Hey, you tell Smoke, I'll throw him some BP, but I'm not. He told Billy, he said I'm coming to Founders Park to Wingo. He's got to shine my shoes. You tell him I'm not shining his shoes, but I'll throw him some BP.
Yeah. The universal response to him. Thank you, Scotty. Scott Wingo with the Gamecocks. whatever. Yeah, is it this? I don't think this is an us problem. I think this is
It's not, and then I don't know what just happened with his phone there. But
Yeah.
technology has not made me happy in the last 5 minutes.
Well, I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe the guy's pouring my concrete back there chopped through the line or something. I thought, oh no.
Nope. I don't know what was going on. For a while, we were frozen there on the Wingo picture, and then I'm not going to take you through all of it. But yeah, there are issues.
Okay.
I think we're okay to get through the show. We'll see.
Okay. All right. We'll hope to survive here. Thanks to Scott Wingo. Really good stuff there. And again, Xavier, Texas, up next. I if there's somebody out there who knows, please tell me why there are these rules in place, because this doesn't make sense. It got called on Clemson. I think Clemson maybe had a 1-2 count, and I can't remember who was hitting for South Carolina. It instantly goes to 2-2. And South Carolina, I know one of them was a 1-2 count, and it went to 2-2. And then the next pitch was a fastball, and the Clemson hitter, I can't remember who it was now, hits a single back up the middle. They score a run. And then there was another instance where it was called, well, I mean, what are we doing? Like, why? What is the point? That is not speeding up the ball game. You want to speed up the ball game, have more guys hit the baseball instead of striking out and walking all the time. That will help you.
So it's coming to the bigs too. That's part of the news that came out right before the show. It's not just the fact that, hey, we're going to ban shifts. It's, oh, yeah, a pitch clock is also coming to Major League Baseball in 2023. If they can ever get back on the field, if they're playing.
Yeah, I know. At this point in time, we'd say fine just to see him play. But I don't agree with it. I did see a lot of that, Darren, and I saw that CC Sabathia was one of the players who's been in support of it, because games, I believe in the last decade or so, have added something like an extra 20 minutes in game time to them, which is substantial. And then there's other guys who say, no, what do we need a pitch clock for? I would say this: why make it universal unless it's needed in a game, if that is something that you feel like is necessary? Like, if there is a game where you have a guy who is constantly stepping on, stepping off, taking all the time in the world, and you can tell what's going on, it's gamesmanship, then institute the pitch clock. Then say, hey, look, we're going to institute the pitch clock because of this reason right here.
So I know a lot of folks who watch this probably aren't familiar with lacrosse, at least college lacrosse, because that's what I'm referencing. I'm not sure about the other levels of lacrosse. But for a long time, there was no clock, shot clock. Then they implemented this idea where the officials, when a team is in the attacking end, but they're not attacking, they're just spreading it around and dilly-dallying, the officials can give a universal sign. It's kind of like reset the shot clock. And at that point, the offensive team is, in fact, put on the clock. You got to get a shot off. It's got to get on cage or a goal. And if it doesn't do either of those two things, then you turn it over. I think it was about a 90-second clock. And I think now they have a full running clock. But that's what you're saying. And I like that idea. Here's your warning. Guys, you know that this framework is here. And if you're taking too long, we have an answer. But it's not going to start from the first pitch of the game. But if we deem it necessary to put it on for the game, then bam, here's the stamp. It's on for the rest of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this step-off situation, Darren, I mean, you were a baseball player. I mean, sometimes you need to step off. Like, I can think of numerous times where guys on the mound, something flies in their eye. They go, wait, was it fastball or breaking ball? They need to step off because, I mean, honestly, I hate to say this, but you want to change this rule? Have a guy put down a 2 sign or whatever, put down for something off speed, and have the pitcher light him up with a fastball and hit the catcher right in the face, basically. And then when they go, well, what happened there? Well, I can't step off or they would have issued me a ball. So I just had to throw what I thought was called by my catcher. Well, we can get a rule change on that. I mean, this is dumb. This is just so nobody can say anything to me like, well, we're trying to speed up the game. You're trying to speed up the game by taking safety out of it. That makes no sense.
You listed a lot of ways that you'd have to or want to step off the rubber. It doesn't make sense to say, look, I get the purpose behind it, but exceptions to the rule need to be granted, because that's a good example that you just gave. What if you've crossed up your catcher because for whatever reason you forgot? people forget stuff, right? You're in the heat of the moment. Some guys leading off second, some guys leading off first. Crap, what am I throwing here? And you step off, or you ask them to go through the signs again, which is probably going to extend that pitch clock. You can't just tether them, though, to the what if a guy's dancing off a base? You don't want to throw to the base, but you're not sure what he's doing. You can't just step off and look him back. You can't, like, that's out of the game, because that's a pretty commonplace in the game.
Right. Got to throw it.
So that's an in-game thing. The bug thing is a good example. What if you got an itch on your leg? I mean, there's a million. What if there's something going on in the stands and it distracts you? Or what if a fight breaks out in the stands? Like, wait a second here, and you want to back up, but you can't do that either. What if someone runs on the field? Right. There are options here. You've got to be able to step off. You have to be able to.
I absolutely, Darren. I mean, none of this makes any sense. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've been around this game a long time. I understand wanting to make sure that it doesn't, fall apart on you, basically, where you're out there for 4 hours and it's the 8th inning. Okay. I mean, I understand those things. I go back to one simple, I've been saying this forever. Whit Merrifield said it last year. He's dead on. Nobody's going to listen to this because the backstory of it is financially driven. In Major League Baseball, you want to speed up games, put the ball in play. I mean, that's it. That's literally all it comes down to. Okay. If you're averaging 20, 21, 22 strikeouts a game combined between two teams, that is going to slow the game down, as opposed to when you're averaging 10 to 12 strikeouts a game.
And it's not just the shift here, because you just hit on it. Because they can play around with this. And Mike Yuva, good to see you in our Share Healthcare chat rooms, is those bigger bases. That's also part of the agreement. They're making bases, I don't know how much bigger, but they're trying to increase stolen bases because those have plummeted. But they're also plummeting because everybody's striking out, and the pitchers are so overpowering right now. So you eliminate the shift. That doesn't help you in the strikeout perspective. I mean, maybe there are other holes that are out there, but you can also make a pretty strong case for, hey, if they're shifting, I can also figure out how to just slap one the other way, and then that's a hit. So I'm surprised the players agreed to that, to be honest. I'm not shocked about the pitch clock. Okay, I don't love it. I'm surprised the players agreed to that, though, because in this day and age of analytics, and I mean, you have the technology to perform better than you had performed in the past because you have the data, but now you're telling me I can't use it? You're telling me, not performance enhancement related, you're telling me I have information to improve what I'm doing and I can't do it?
Right.
I'm surprised they agreed to that.
I don't even know, like, how are you going to define that? I mean, how are you going to define a shift?
I don't know.
Because there's ways around this. I mean, we have the main shift that everybody's talking about, Darren, is the infielders.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. But we've watched this forever. The outfielders shift constantly. I mean, that's never changed. So, but how do you basically in I guess baseball lingo, how would you differentiate a shift from a shade? And what do I mean by that? Like, you're shading your center fielder, you're shading your left fielder, you're shading your right fielder one way or another based on how you're going to pitch a guy or what data says on that dude or whatever, the scouting report. So how are you going to do that? You're going to play your second baseman a little bit more up the middle. We've long done that too. That's not really shifting anybody. That's just shading them that way. You're going to play your third baseman a little bit more in the 5-hole. That's not a shift. Mm-hmm. You're just sliding them over and shading them that way. So how are you going to tell somebody that they can't play somebody there? I mean, I don't know how they're going to. I guess
it'll probably be like you can't cross the base, right? If I'm on the left side, I can't play on the right side, and vice versa. But then your outfield point's a good point too. So what if I'm a lefty and I'm a pull hitter? Forever, you can shade the outfield like you're talking about, right? So if you're a lefty and you're a pull hitter, the left fielder slides to the gap, center fielder slides over. Is that not allowed?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we need more clarification on the language that's going to be in the rule, and you hit on it. And look, if that's the case, okay, I can get behind that. If your second baseman can't cross over to the shortstop side, fine. If the shortstop can't, or the third baseman can't cross over to the second base side of the bag, because we see that sometimes, these crazy heavy shifts where the third baseman is literally playing right behind the second base bag. I'm fine with that. I don't see how you can say that a shortstop can't, though, slide to the other side of the second base bag because he plays right there. I don't What you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. I just have to see more of it. But I don't like where this is going. The language is going to have to describe it. Right now, it's very broad. We're eliminating shifts, but to what extent? I don't see.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think the infield thing, hey, you can't cross second is probably the backbone of all of this. But then what you're going to see is, let's say, again, lefties up, so your shortstop is shaded. Say he can't cross second. So he's going to start, as the pitcher's on the mound, he's going to start right behind second because he can't cross second. As the pitcher works into his windup, where's he going? He's taking those early steps to inch his way and get his movement started. And by the time that pitch is thrown, he's on the first base side of second. So there has to be language in there about that too. I mean, is there just like a wall? You can't cross it ever?
Yeah, and what's the penalty? I mean,
right.
Like you said, I mean, you get a guy who's right on it and they throw the pitch and he kind of drifts that way and the ball's put in play and it's an out. What are they going to do? I mean, they're going to call him back and let him hit again. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean,
I'm not sure. I'm not. Let's hear. I don't love the idea, but I don't love the fact that they're not on the field now. So let's get that fixed. Like let's go. Let's get that fixed because now it's starting to bother me. It's bothered people for a while. It's starting to bother me now.
They need to get on the field. And look, I mean, I've talked to Smoke about this before, and they've done it to Justin. I mean, you get a second baseman that plays very shallow right field, basically deep in the quote unquote hole, but you're 15 feet into the grass. The shortstop's essentially playing where the second baseman plays, and the third baseman's playing directly behind the bag.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I get that. And you know what they're going to do. I mean, the other part of this that we don't ever talk about, and I say we, just everybody collectively, is these guys on the mound are so good. They're it's like, we'll just hit it the other way. And I agree with that. Hey, look, you got to make an adjustment and you got to try to find a way to poke it the other direction. I don't disagree with that. Those guys on the mound, to give them some credit, all they're doing is pitching you inside. They want you to pull it because that's where all their guys are, so, they're, and when you're throwing 95, 97 miles an hour and you got 92 mile an hour, 93 mile an hour cutters and sliders, big league hitters are going, yeah, it ain't that easy. Just pop it the other way when they're, sawing me off on the inside corner and they got 6 guys standing over here. So I do get that and I understand it. But there's got to be something somewhere that describes what is a shift. And if it's, you can't start on that side of the bag or, or whatever. All right. Then give them a foot, and they'll stand right next to it and then they'll go over there anyways. So, I mean, I don't know that that's going to really change that much. I just think that we're focusing on all the wrong things to shorten games. And Witt, I thought what Witt said was brilliant, and I've said it 1,000 times. It is not me. I'm just regurgitating what I thought was a brilliant comment by Whit Merrifield. He said it last year. Cut down on strikeouts. Well, how do you cut down on strikeouts? Pay the guys who actually put the ball in play. They're paying the guys who hit 230 and who hit 240 with 30 home runs a year. That's who they're paying. These are the guys. They'll tell you. The big leaguers will literally tell you that. I don't care if I hit 240. If I hit 30 jacks, they're going to sign me to a 4 or 5 year deal for $100 million. But if I hit 300 and I hit 8 home runs a year, I ain't getting $100 million. So they go out and they don't mind striking out 150 times, 200 times in a year to hit 30 home runs. And that's what's slowing the game down. But you really think that Major League Baseball is going to talk about that? Well, of course not. And there's not enough players that are talking about it. And
it's evident in the payrolls. And it's not just as simple as, well, a guy's good at this, a guy's good at that, we got a power hitter. Guys are adjusting their practice. Guys are adjusting how they train. Guys are adjusting how they live and prepare because it's financially driven. It's not just when they step on the field, hey, you got a home run hitter. You've got guys doing what they can to train themselves. Hey, yeah, if I focus my training this way, maybe I can hit 280, 290, 310, whatever. But I'm not going to work on that because why should I work on that? I'm going to work on hitting another extra 5, 10 home runs and I'm going to work on getting more money for me and my family.
That's exactly right. It is so spot on. It's ridiculous. I mean, same thing pitchers. I mean, if you're throwing gas and you walk 2 guys for every 4 that you strike out, but you throw 100 miles an hour, guess what? You're going to have a place in the big leagues because you throw 100. But if you're just some crafty cat who runs out there pumping, 89 to 91, you're going to have a much more difficult job or time finding a job in the big leagues. They're not paying you. They're just not. The lefty, yeah, you get a shot. The righties, they're not paying that guy. That guy's not getting paid anymore. So and those are the guys, by the way, that hitters are making contact with, not the 100-mile-an-hour guys. That's what's slowing the game down. It's just a natural movement there, but nobody's going to acknowledge that because people want to see dudes that throw 100 and people want to see guys that hit home runs. Me personally, we're getting to a point, Darren, where they just want to see the game move along and how many games do you watch at the college level now? And I love baseball. But at the college level and at the big league level, where you go back to the old days where there's a runner on first and second, and you get a guy that comes up and just smokes one into the gap somewhere. Strikeouts, pop-ups. Oh, 3-run homer. That's how those guys are scoring now. It's a totally different game than what it used to be.
Yeah, you're not manufacturing runs. Not often. Teams have to be built to manufacture those runs. And then what are you building those guys on? It goes back to who are the guys who are getting paid. The guys who are getting paid are also the superstars. So then you're building your team with a group of guys who you hope you can put them together and be that team that can play a little differently. That's not the way the game is right now. So
totally different.
Adam's thought right here in the Share Healthcare chat line, I don't disagree with him at all. You can take out some time in between innings, right? We've all played enough. You don't need 5 minutes or whatever it is, 3.5. But there's the ad revenue. That's where they're making a lot of their money.
Yeah,
So
they're not cutting that.
I'm not going to agree to that. But there's an answer right there. Find a new way to get some ad revenue. But that's not.
No, it's not. College baseball did implement a rule change on that a couple of years ago, and you've got 120 seconds, which I think we are all smart enough to realize it's 2 minutes, right?
That's fair.
So college baseball, it might be adjusted, but I don't think it is. I know during the regular season it's not. In the postseason, they might adjust it a little bit, but you'll find it rolls in college baseball. Those breaks, all of a sudden you're out of it after 2 spots, and spots are commercials, guys. And then they're back there playing baseball. So they did implement that, and that's really good. But you want the game to – and by the way, Darren, and we'll go to our final break here real quick, but honestly, answer it honestly. Would you care if a baseball game was 3.5 hours long or 4 hours long if you were just watching guys put it in play left and right and you're entertained and it's moving fast? It might take longer, but the game itself, like the action on the field, is actually moving. Have we ever complained about that in our lives? No. What we're complaining about is when it's 3.5 hours and all you see is pop-ups and weak ground balls and strikeouts. That's what we're complaining about.
And guys stepping off and mound visits. I mean, I've done and watched games that felt long and didn't even hit the 3-hour mark. And I've done and watched games that felt entertaining and felt fast. And it was like 3:40 because of the entertainment of the game. Because the game was a great game. Yeah, because the game was moving. So the time itself isn't the goal. The goal is to keep it entertaining, and then time kind of figures itself out. Yeah,
it's about the baseball. It's not about this other crap. It's not about having a guy in the stretch and telling him he can't step off. That's stupid. It is about the baseball. Make the game better. These people are idiots, man. I saw it this weekend. I was like, you got to be kidding me. What's going on here? All right. Final timeout, 1:48. Still a couple of things to get to. Don't go anywhere on this marvelous Monday afternoon on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Hey, South Carolina, what's going on? This is Patrick Davis, and you are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
All right, final few minutes on a windy but sunny and warm Monday afternoon. Don't get used to it, apparently. Has anybody seen the weather for the next week?
I heard like freezing this weekend somehow.
Can you believe that? We just planted 4 trees in our yard. Yeah.
Good luck with
All right. Darren, on the handy dandy national, what day is it calendar? It is National Cereal Day. Do you have a favorite cereal?
Oh, lots. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is great. I don't eat a whole lot of cereal anymore, but God, all of them growing up, basically. Cinnamon Toast Crunch jumps to mind.
Yeah. I don't know that I have a favorite, but I just crave different ones from time to time.
Yeah.
So I'm with that. It's also National Flapjack Day. So it's kind of a breakfast day this March 7th. It is. Pancakes and cereal.
Yeah, sure. That's a good breakfast. I mean, I'm more of an eggs and an omelet guy than pancakes, but I mean, I'm not going to turn it down.
I know one thing. The waffle maker in our house is sweet, and I love it. And we've been making the Belgian waffles, and my kids adore me for it. So I will continue that. All right, what was more surprising this weekend? North Carolina's upset of Duke on Coach K's final grand finale, or Kentucky's upset of South Carolina in the women's SEC championship?
Well, for me, it was North Carolina winning the game. I mean, obviously it's surprising, right, that South Carolina lost to Kentucky. But, I mean, really, did you really think that Coach K was going to lose his last game in Cameron Indoor? Or like that didn't cross my mind. I bet North Carolina plus 11.5 because I thought that was far too much. But winning the game, like, come on. No. And they didn't just win. They crushed them. They
beat the crap out of them.
They dominated the game. And Kay, afterwards, he comes out and addresses the crowd, and he wanted them all to stop. You know, he was like, look, man, like, as a whole, everything's been great, but tonight was not great. And he didn't want much of it.
No. I thought that game, I thought Duke would start slow. And I thought they'd start slow simply because of all the emotions that were going to be running through the building. I just thought there'd be a lack of focus initially, and then they'd kind of regroup, and then they'd be okay. And North Carolina was focused from the opening tip, and they took it right to them.
It was impressive. It's not. I agree with you. I thought part of the reason why it was too many points, well, there were a lot of things built into that I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people that saw that line. They're like, that's insane. Part of it was how badly Duke beat North Carolina the first time, but that's an anomaly. Part of it is these kids who are playing for Coach K now, they know the legend of Coach K. That's a lot on their backs. That's a ton on their backs to know I'm playing for this guy and his last time on this floor, and all of the great players that have ever played here before me are all sitting right over there. That's a lot, man. I don't care how talented that team is. That is a lot to put on those guys. And apparently it was a lot because it wasn't, I mean, they were bad defensively, like really bad. And that's one of the things Coach K has built a career on.
I think it's a great point. You know, you got to tip your cap to North Carolina as well, too. I think they're now firmly in with that win. I think the latest bracketology by Lenardi has them as an 8. So we'll see what the ACC tournament looks like. The ACC tournament, Darren, is set to go tomorrow. Clemson will be game 2 tomorrow against 15th seeded NC State. They are preceded by 12th seeded Pitt, 13 Boston College, and then they will be followed up by 11-14 Louisville and 11 Louisville, 14 Georgia Tech. The winner of the Clemson game will get 7th seeded Virginia Tech. So we'll see if the Tigers can make a little noise here and try to advance. If they could get through those, they've got Notre Dame waiting Thursday. The SEC tournament set to go Wednesday, 11-14 matchup, Georgia and Vandy, and then the 12-13, 12th Missouri, 13th seeded Ole Miss. That was the first one at 6, and then Georgia Vandy, the latter, somewhere around 8:30 that evening. Right now, Lenardi, Darren, has Kansas, Arizona, Baylor, and Gonzaga as the top seeds. Something interesting, if you missed it, happened this weekend in the Big Ten. Nebraska somehow beat Wisconsin.
Again,
Wisconsin.
That's their third. I brought this up last week. Nebraska shells Penn State, and that's fine, right? Then they go to Ohio State and do the same thing, and they follow it up beating Wisconsin. So it's like, I mean, putting money on Nebraska to win the Big Ten tournament, even though the odds aren't great, that's the reason to do it right now, because maybe they are just that crazy hot. Maybe they are. They look like a completely different team. All year they've been fun to watch because their games are high scoring, but it's bad. The other teams have great days. Right now, I don't know what clicked over there, but it's something to watch.
It is. My question is, which I don't want to cross them off the list yet, but unless they win the Big Ten championship, I don't think Wisconsin is in that 1 seed talk anymore.
No, I think the Big Ten, we were talking about this with Raphael Friday too, and I got into it with a Rutgers fan friend this weekend. The Big Ten for a time was really impressive and easily in that conversation of can they be the number 2 league? They're not right now. The SEC is a better league. They're right behind the Big 12, and the Big 10's behind them. And it's not just the Big Ten is cannibalizing itself. It's that you're starting to find flaws with a lot of the top teams. I think Wisconsin's the best team in the league. I think Iowa could be the best team in the league, but defensively, they are a disaster. Could they outscore everyone in the tournament? Yeah, maybe. I don't think the Big Ten has a number 1 team in there right now.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to get one.
Illinois is the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, if I'm not mistaken there. And then Michigan, with their upset of Ohio State and Columbus, I think that wraps it for Michigan. I think they'll be in now.
Probably. I haven't checked the latest bracketology after that. That's a needed win. I want to say they went 3-2 in that Howard absence. They won the first game after the suspension, and I think this was the third. And they've been good wins. So yeah, they have cemented a better resume. The Howard situation is also one to watch. I don't know how the committee views what happened. Do they want that in? I don't think it necessarily needs to be considered, but I think it will be, right? If you're considering between them and someone else, it's possible.
I think the big question right now, both of the SEC programs that had a shot at 1 seeds, Kentucky and Auburn, are on the 2 line. So if one of those wins the SEC tournament, do they propel to the 1, depending on what else happens? Kansas, Arizona, those type of things. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Right. I think you just answered it right there. Depending on what happens, yeah. If one of them wins the SEC, they could very well be a 1.
Yeah. We'll a lot to play out there. Certainly a tough weekend for the game. We'll clearly navigate through more of that throughout the work week. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Keith Alsep joins us tomorrow. I'm missing somebody. I can't remember. I can't think that far ahead. I got to go check on the concrete guy. Thanks to Wes and Wingo. Oh, there you go. Wes and Wingo on Mondays. We got it. Thanks to Darren. See you tomorrow.